tomorrow you have a quiz on section 4.3, A, B, and C. There are 6 questions on the quiz tomorrow. You are going to have 2 questions that are going to be like numbers, parabola. So just like questions 1 through 4 on the quiz review, you're going to have 2 of these. You're going to need, just like it says in the quiz review, it's going to ask you on the quiz tomorrow to find the vertex, the focus, the directrix, and the axis of symmetry, and then graph the parabola. So 2 questions just like this. Now, they may be questions where the vertex is at 0, 0. And the quiz is on paper. It's not on Canvas. Okay, so let me go ahead and do the first one. Remember, your first step here is to isolate the squared term. So I need to take the 3x squared equals 4y, and I need to isolate x squared. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and then I get 4/3 y. Now, for this one, notice there's nothing being added or subtracted to the x squared or the y. So that tells me my vertex is at 0, 0. To find my focus and my directrix, I need to find the p-value. Remember, the equation here is in this form. X squared equals 4py. So what I'm going to do is take 4/3 and I'm going to set it equal to 4p to get my p-value. So 4p is equal to 4/3. I need to divide by 4, which is really the same thing as multiply by 1/4. And that's going to get rid of just the 4. And then when I multiply, I get 4/12, which simplifies to 1/12. So my p-value is 1/3. Remember, when it's the x squared graph and the vertex is at 0, 0, your p-value, or sorry, your focus is just going to be 0, p. And the directrix is going to be y equals the opposite of p. So let me go ahead and graph all these pieces in here. So for my focus, that order pair is going to be 0, and this should be a 3, sorry. This should, 4/12 simplifies to 1/3. So this is going to be the order pair 0, 1/3. So I'm going to graph my vertex here, 0, 0. And then I'm going to graph my focus, which is the order pair 0, 1/3. And again, it's somewhere in between here. Doesn't have to be precise. And then for the directrix, it's this equation opposite of p. So my directrix equation is going to be y equals -1/3. So if I come down here, here is my directrix. And then from now I can go ahead and graph my parabola. Now, I'm going to go ahead and have you find an additional point just to see how wide or how fat it is. Also, we have to list the axis of symmetry. My axis of symmetry here is x equals 0. It's the y-axis. So let me go ahead and just take my equation, x squared equals 4py. Let me just plug in a number here and get an order pair. So if I plug in 3 for y, I think that's going to be the easier way to do this one. I get x squared equals 4, square root it, and x is going to be plus and minus 2 when y equals 3. So I can graph the order pair 2, -3 to see, and 2, +3 to see how fat my parabola is going to be. So 2, 3, -2, 3, and then connect the points. Now, I know I told you when I taught this that I didn't want to see an additional point, but just find one. Use your axis of symmetry here, and then really all you have to do is find one of them and then use the line of symmetry. So again, let me write down the directrix here. The directrix, that's the equation. Make sure you write it as an equation. If you don't write it as an equation, you're going to get it wrong. So I've listed the vertex, 0, 0. I listed the focus, 0, 1/3. My directrix was y equals -1/3. My axis of symmetry was x equals 0. And then I graphed it. Now, number 2 is similar. So let me go ahead and jump down to one where the vertex is not at 0, 0. So let me try number 3. Let's see here. So questions where you're graphing the parabola, or it may be like this, where your vertex is not at the order pair 0, 0. So be ready for either type. Then you're going to, so for number 3, remember step number 1 is to isolate the square term. So what I need to do here is move this -1 to the other side. So then my equation is going to be y plus 3 squared equals -3 x minus 2. Now I could go ahead and pull out my vertex. Remember the vertex is right here. It's opposite of what you think. Remember this is your k value. K is always with y. H is always with x. So my vertex here is going to be the order pair 2, -3. For my directrix and my focus, I need to find the p-value. Remember, this is of this form. Y minus k squared equals 4p x minus h. So 4p is going to be set equal to -3. I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 4. And p is equal to -3/4. I need to use this p-value to find my directrix and my focus. Remember, we're going to add the p-value to the non-squared variable. And in this particular problem, my non-squared variable was x. So to get my 2 focus points, I'm going to take the vertex. I'm going to be adding p, which is really adding a -3/4, but then I leave the k alone. And then I also can go ahead and do the math here. I'm going to change the 2 into 8/4. So this becomes 5/4, which really is 1 1/4 because we're going to need to graph it. And now for the directrix, we're going to add the opposite of p. And I know it's going to be x equals because that's my non-squared variable. So again, I'm adding it to the vertex, the h of the vertex. Opposite of p is +3/4. So it's 2 3/4 for my directrix equation. So now I also need to put the axis of symmetry. Remember, your axis of symmetry is just the x of the vertex here. So the y this time because it's a c. So my axis of symmetry here is going to be y equals -3. So whenever it's a y squared, your axis of symmetry is the y equals. If it were an x squared, it would be x equals. So now let me go ahead and graph all this information. I also need to find my intercept. I need to find the X intercept. So in order to find the X intercept, when it's a C or backwards C, I'm going to set y equal to 0. So I'm going to go ahead and do negative and then 0 plus 3 squared equals 3 times x minus 2. So then this becomes this, distribute, This becomes negative 9. I'm going to add 6. Negative 3 equals 3x. Divide by 3. Negative 1 equals x. So my x-intercept is going to be located at negative 1, 0. So again, when your vertex is not at the origin, you need to still find that additional point, and the additional point is the easiest one to find, is to find the intercept. Okay, so let's graph all of this now. So I'm going to graph the vertex in blue. So it's positive 2, negative 3. That's your vertex. I'll go ahead and graph the focus in red. So it's the order pair negative 1 1/4, comma, negative 3. So right here will be the focus. Then I have to put in the directrix. I'll do this in purple. So it's at x equals 2 3/4. So right here. And again, write it as an equation. Now I can use my axis of symmetry, which was this y equals 1/3. Maybe let me do the axis of symmetry in green. So it's this line right through here, this imaginary line. I found my additional point to be this x-intercept. So I can use my axis of symmetry, and I can find another point that's right here, and it's going to be the order pair negative 1, negative 6. So now I can connect my points and make my parabola. And that's when your vertex is not at 0, 0. So again, you're identifying the directrix, which is in purple. I'm identifying the focus, which is in red. I'm identifying my vertex, which is in blue. My axis of symmetry, which is in green. And then I connected my points. I found one additional point, which was the x-intercept. If your vertex was not at the origin, and let's say it was an up and down graph, then you would have found the y-intercept. All right, so then number 4 is a similar type of question. You could try to work it out on your own and then look at the solution file. Let's try graphing an ellipse now. Have two questions where you're going to have to graph the ellipses, which is like numbers 5 and 6 here on the review. So 2 graphing of the ellipse. So questions 5, 6, and 7 on the review. Now, what's missing from this, you're also going to have to list the co-vertices for the ellipse. So on the 2 questions where you're graphing the ellipse, you're going to list the center, the vertices, the foci, and the co-vertices, and then create the graph. And then you'll have 2 questions. So let's go ahead and try number 5. So again, I'm identifying the center. And again, this is my H. So this is H. And this is K. So my center point here is the order pair positive 3, negative 3. That's my center. Now, remember, a squared is always going to be the bigger number. So my a squared is 8. And my b squared is 4. To find c squared, I'm using this equation or this formula. So a is going to be equal to plus and minus the square root of 8. And then here what I can go ahead and do is simplify this to 2 radical 2. B is going to be equal to plus and minus 2. And then for the c squared, let's put it in. 8 minus 4, c squared equals 4. So c equals plus and minus 2. So now let's go ahead and find the missing pieces here. Let's find the vertices next. So remember, to find the vertices, I need to go ahead and take my center point, and notice my major axis here, the bigger numbers under Y. So this is where I'm going to add and subtract my A value to the center. So for my vertices, I'm going to go ahead and take my center, and I'm going to add and subtract the A value, which is 2 radical 2. So I'm going to get 3 comma negative 3 minus 2 radical 2, and 3 comma negative 3 plus 2 radical 2. Those are my vertices. Then for my focus point, I need to, actually let's do the co-vertices next. So co-vertices uses the B value. My minor axis is going to be the x-axis, and that's where I'm going to add the B value to. So I'm going to take the center, I'm going to add my B value, which is plus and minus 2, and then comma negative 3. So here I get 3 minus 2 is 1, and then 3 plus 2 is 5. So those are my 2 co-vertices. And then now to find the focus point, I'm going to go ahead and take my center again. Focus is always on the major axis. So I'm going to take 3 and then negative 3 and add and subtract 2 to the K. So 3 comma negative 1 and 3 comma negative 5. Everybody good there? All right, so now I'm going to take the center, these 6 ordered pairs, and I'm going to now graph it because I just found everything I needed. The foci are in purple. The vertices are in red. And then my co-vertices are in blue. And let me change the center, it'll be green. Okay, so my center is at the order pair positive 3, negative 3. I have a vertice now. Again, I can approximate the square root of, so 2 square root 2 is going to be approximately 2.8. So when I go to graph this, I'm doing negative 3 minus 2.8, which will end up being 3 comma negative 5.8. And then here we're going to subtract it. So negative 3 minus 2.8, or plus 2.8, sorry. So 3 and 2.8 is going to give me 0.2. So let's go ahead and get all these on here. So I've got a vertex here at positive 3, and I need to change colors, negative 5.8, that's a vertice. And then I got another one really close here to the y-axis. And again, as long as you're in the general vicinity, when these are radicals, I'm not looking for, exact, because your graph is going by ones. And then I can graph the 2 co-vertices. 1 negative 3, and then 5 negative 3. So these are co-vertices. The red are the vertices. And then also add in the focus points. So 3 negative 1, and then 3 negative 5. Connect the red and the blue dots to make your ellipse. So again, make it curved. Add a little bend to it, and then there would be your graph. The key thing I'm going to be looking at is the order pairs you're writing on the line. If your points are close, because again, it's going by ones, that's what I'll be looking for. So 2 questions where you're graphing the ellipse, and then 2 questions where you're going to write the equation of the parabola. Let me come down here and that are like numbers 8, 9, 10, and 11, where you're going to have to write the equation of the parabola. So 2 graphing parabolas, 2 graphing ellipses, and 2 writing equations of parabolas. Again, this review is an excellent resource to study for tomorrow's quiz. So let me go through and I'll work out some of the questions on it. Now, you already have the solution file, but I'll walk you through it. So let me go back to the beginning. Take a look at 8, 9, 10, and 11. And let's go ahead and try these as well. Now, when you're writing the equation of the parabola, I highly recommend you give yourself a visual. So let me go ahead, instead of trying to cram it in there, let me do number 8. So number 8, it says, be careful, the focus is at 0, 0, not the vertex. So when I go to graph this, I'm graphing my focus at 0, 0, and then my vertex at 0, 2. Remember, the parabola always surrounds the focus. So this should be a clue that you're going to be using the equation x, it's an up and down graph, so x minus h squared, because the vertex is not at the origin, and then y minus k. So now I can plug in my information. Remember, your vertex, this is your h and your k. I need to find the p-value. Remember, the p-value is the distance that the graph, the vertex, is from the focus. And I can see that it's 2 spaces away, but it's opening downward, so it's going to be a -2. So let's replace what we have. So x minus 0 squared equals 4 times -2, and then y minus 2. The only thing I need to simplify here is multiplying 4 times -2. And also, I can also not put the -0 here. So x squared, -8, y minus 2 would be your final answer there. Let's try number 9. For number 9, we're given a focus and a directrix. So let me go ahead and give myself a visual. 1, 2, and then -2. So my focus is at the order pair 2, 0. My directrix is at x equals -2. Remember, the vertex is equidistant from both of these. So really it's the midpoint, or right in the middle of these two, which tells me my vertex is right smack here at the origin, because it's 2 spaces away here and 2 spaces away here. So and again, it's opening surrounding the focus. So since my vertex is at the origin, I'm using the y squared equals 4px. My p-value is 2. So all I have to do is multiply 4 times 2. And my equation is y squared equals 8x. Number 10. This time, they're telling me it's symmetric to the x-axis. So I know that this is going to be the C, or the backward C. And then I'm going to plot the vertex and the order pair, because I'm going to have to solve for P. So for number 10, so the given order pair, so a vertex at 2, 1, and the order pair, the point, was 4, 3. So let me graph these two. So here's my vertex, and then the point that it's also on, 2, 3, 4, is going to be right here. So because it's symmetric to the x-axis, I know my graph is going to look like this. And because my vertex is not at the origin, I'm using y minus k squared equals 4p x minus h. This is my h, this is my k. I need to solve for p. The order pair is x and y. So let me go ahead and plug it in. So y is 3, k is 1, I don't know p, x is 4, h is 2. 2 squared, 4p times 2, 4 equals 8p, divide by 8, and p equals 1/2. Now I take this p, and I'm going to go back and plug it in here, as well as plugging in my h and k. So my final answer here is going to end up being y minus 1 squared equals, when I multiply 4 times 1/2, I'm going to get 2, and then x minus h, and I'm done. Let's try one last one, number 11. Again, I was given a focus and the directrix. So again, let's get a visual here so I know which equation I need to work with. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So my focus here is going to be right here. And then my directrix 4, 5 is right here. So I know my vertex is somewhere in between here. So in between 3 and 5, my vertex is going to be located right here. And it surrounds this. So again, it's going to be the backward C. So I'm using this equation. And again, my p-value is going to be negative. The distance between the vertex and the directrix is 1. Between the focus and the vertex, it's 1. So my p-value is -1. So let me go ahead and plug it in. So my k value, I had to figure out what this order pair is. And this is the order pair 4, -2. So my k value becomes negative, so +2. And then I'm going to do 4 times -1. So this becomes a -4. And then x minus h, and my h was 4. And I'm done.